Hi everyone, hope you're doing well. Today I've got a relatively short video because Blizzard has announced 4 new cards for the upcoming expansion, the WitchWood, and each of these 4 cards are ones that synergize with the 2 legendaries that they spoke about, which were Baku the Moon Eater and Jen the Greymane. And these are 2 opposing cards which allow you to build your deck around having only even cost cards with Jen the Greymane and only odd cost cards with Baku the Moon Eater. And if you build your deck that way, Jen the Greymane allows your starting hero power to only cost 1, and Baku upgrades your hero power. So both very powerful cards, and it will be interesting to see what sort of cards they release for these 2 cards, because if you were just playing them on their own in the game today, you would lose out on a significant amount of cards for each deck because you can't put even in one, you can't put odd in the other, if you see what I mean. So let's get straight into the new cards. So the first card I'm going to talk about is a 2-mana Shaman card. It's got 2 attack, 3 health, and it's a beast. It's called the Mercs Bark Eel, and it has a battle cry. If your deck has only even cost cards, deal 2 damage. So this is one that goes with Jen the Greymane. You can play this on turn 2 and deal 2 damage if you've built your deck correctly. Now, when you look at the stats of standard minions, the River Crocolisk is a 2-mana 2/3 beast. Now, this has a battle cry of deal 2 damage, which on turn 2 can be really, really important. One, because if your opponent's got a 1-drop on the board, you could, if you're going first, you play your 1-drop or even use your hero power because of the effect of Jen the Greymane. Turn 2, you can play this and clear their 1-drop, and then you've still got your 1-drop on the board and also your 2-drop. If you're going second, you can use it to kill your opponent's 1-drop or even some of their 2-drops. And gaining that early game presence, I think, is a really important thing in Hearthstone. So I like this card. I think it's pretty decent. Of course, it's completely useless if you don't put it in a deck with Jen the Greymane. There's no way you'd want to play a 2-mana 2/3 beast as it is. So you can't really say how good this card is going to be, and all of these cards that I'm looking at today, until we see how the actual Jen the Greymane deck works out. But on its own, individually, without seeing the rest of the deck, I think it can be pretty good in a Jen the Greymane card deck. Next up is probably the best card that I'm going to be showing you guys today, and that is called the Black Cat. It's a mage common card. It costs 3 mana, has 3 attack and 3 health, and it has a couple of effects. Spell damage +1, which we all know is really good in mage. You can create some good combos with that. But the battle cry is if your deck has only odd cost cards, draw a card. So this goes into a Baku the Moon Eater deck. Now, obviously, you have the downsides of not being able to play even cost cards, so there are a lot of really good mage removals that do that. But individually, if you can make Baku the Moon Eater deck work in mage, this is a very good card. Azure Drake was already a very good card in mage before it was moved to the Hall of Fame, and this is just basically a miniature one. It costs less than the Azure Drake, and it only has one less stats. And the effect of being able to draw a card is also really powerful in any deck. So I quite like this one. If it works, then great, but the problem is that mage is going to be missing out on a number of good even cost cards like Frostbolt, Meteor is 6 mana. So you just don't know until we've seen all of the new mage cards that come out. But if it works in that deck, I quite like it. On its own, it's just like if you played it outside of a Baku the Moon Eater deck, it's just a Soot Spewer, which is a card which was introduced a long time ago, is rotated out of standard now. But that didn't see a lot of play because it didn't really have as good an effect. That was exactly the same as this without the card draw. Spell damage +1, 3/3, and it was a mech. Next up, we've got a epic priest card called the Glittermoth. It's 5 mana, has 4 attack, 4 health, and is a beast. And so those stats aren't very good for the mana cost, but it does have a particularly good effect of if your deck only has odd cost cards, double the health of your other minions. So this is one that goes in a Baku the Moon Eater deck. And at first glance, it seems really strong to double the health of your other minions, but it's only the other minions that you've got on the board. So you do already need to have a minion on the board, and because it costs 5 mana, you can't play any particularly big card first and then play Glittermoth to double its health. It has to be on the board already, so you're only going to be able to in the same turn play a minion that costs 5 or less, and even then you have to do it on turn 10. So it's potentially not going to be able to get the combo that you want, because one of the strengths of Priest in this previous expansion is the Divine Spirit in a fire combo. That really came into prominence, and there was a lot of good decks running that. And the advantage of Divine Spirit is that it's a spell, so you can reduce the cost of it, you can discover more copies of it, and it can be played multiple times on the same minion. So that's how you create these one-turn kills, and you put Inner Fire on that minion that you've buffed, and then you can kill your opponent in one turn. The problem here is that if you're playing a Baku the Moon Eater deck, you can't have Divine Spirit in your deck, because it has to be all odd cost cards, and Divine Spirit costs 2. So having the Glittermoth, I don't think you'll be able to reliably get that combo working enough to make it worthwhile. Now, if you can double a minion's health and it helps you with the board control, then yeah, okay, it can work quite well. But I think there are too many downsides to it at the moment. It costs 5 mana, and it's an epic card, so you can put 2 in your deck, and if you're lucky, you could potentially play it twice on the same turn. But then you don't have enough mana left to play your Inner Fire, because you need 5. You need 10 just to play 2 Glittermoths, and the Inner Fire costs 1. So it's very difficult to see how that would work. Initially, I don't think this is a very good card at all, and if you're not playing it in a Baku the Moon Eater deck, then you're not playing it at all, because it doesn't offer anything good. Finally for today, I have another epic card. This one is for the Druid class. It's called the Gloom Stag. 5 mana, 2 attack, 6 health with Taunt, which on its own isn't great at all, but it does have the battle cry if your deck has only odd cost cards, gain +2/+2. So this goes into a Baku the Moon Eater deck, so all of your deck does have to be odd cost cards. And then if you play it 5 mana, you get a 4 attack, 8 health beast with Taunt. That is a really, really good stat line, and something that would go into that specific deck. However, Druid does have another card which is pretty decent in itself, called the Druid of the Claw. Now, Druid of the Claw has the flexibility to be able to change into a 4/6 with Taunt or a 4/4 with Charge, and that flexibility is really, really strong, and something which makes that card stand out. Whereas Gloom Stag itself isn't really that great. It's very weak to silence because you lose the stats, and being able to, and not having that flexibility of becoming a charge like Druid the Claw has, makes me think that, to be honest, if you didn't have Gloom Stag, putting in the Druid in the Claw would be fine, and maybe even better in a lot of cases. So the Gloom Stag, I think, is okay. It's not really got anything special about it. It will go into a Baku the Moon Eater deck, but again, just like the other cards, it won't see any play unless you're playing Baku the Moon Eater. So that's all of the cards that have been released so far, 4 from today, and from my point of view, fairly uninspiring, to be honest. There's nothing really that exciting about those cards. We do really need to reserve judgment until we've seen all of them, because we don't know how the new cards are going to play out. We don't know what odd cards are coming or any even cards, and there are so many new ones to be announced, so it could turn into something that's really cool. And I am excited to try those 2 decks with Baku and also Jen the Greymane, but I'm also a little bit worried and a bit disappointed, because these 4 cards that they've announced today, if you don't have either of those specific legendaries, you can't play them because they're not good. So if you open all of your packs and you don't get Baku and you don't get Jen the Greymane, then all of these cards in odd costs and even cost decks, you just won't play because they're not good enough on their own outside of those decks. And also, going forward, that just makes them very limited. Now, again, they can always release new cards in the next future expansions, not even the WitchWood, the next one after that, that can grow on this. But I think it would be a bit frustrating for players if they open all of their packs and they don't get Baku or Jen, and then they've got a bunch of cards that go into those decks that they just can't play. And the other downside is if everybody gets Jen and Baku, but then the decks don't work out to be that powerful and you can't play them on ladder because they just don't work, then there are a bunch of cards in the WitchWood which just can't be played. There's no point in playing them outside of those decks. So it's kind of the first time where they have some specifically narrow decks. And having said that, it did work quite well with Cthulhu. I thought Cthulhu was a really good introduction to the game, and they had a lot of Cthulhu cards which didn't really work outside of playing a Cthulhu deck, and I did enjoy those. So hopefully it will go along a similar way, but we'll see. Anyway, thank you guys so much for watching. Let me know in the comments what you think about these cards, and I'll see you in the next video.